Hello and welcome to my Nutrient Nirvana channel. I'm Paul and today I'm joined by a very interesting lady, Elona Woods. Elona is a homeopath, an astrologer, a tarot reader, a shadow worker, a motivational speaker, and many more things besides. So thank you for joining me today, Elona. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's an honour to be here, so thank you for asking.
Oh, it's very nice of you to say so. Thanks. So this is allegedly a health channel. I say allegedly because my last few videos have been on ancient and biblical history. So the first thing I wanted to ask you about today was your health journey, basically. So can you tell us about that and how did it all start for you, basically?
My personal health journey.
If you don't mind, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a long one. I think that for me, health constitutes for two: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Okay.
Hmm.
So the start of my journey was more mental and emotional and not feeling well within that because of life circumstances,
Hmm.
which then led me on to tarot. And then I learned to do the tarot because I wanted to understand the meaning of my life. And I
Hmm.
also wanted to understand the parts of my life that were not seen, that we cannot be, that we cannot see.
Hmm.
So I did tarot for a long time, helped a lot of people. It became a journey. I was a financial consultant before, so worked in finance and completely left that behind
Mm.
because it wasn't fulfilling. I wanted to help people. And then I got to a point on my journey where I got really into fitness, really into health and eating well and gut health and all the rest of it. And then I overdid it a bit with the gut health because I didn't eat the right foods at that point. And I detoxed for a while. And after the detox, I didn't break the fast very well. So I ended up really, really ill. And I
Mm.
went to the doctors and they said to me that it was all in my head, but I could feel that I was off. I had vertigo. There was a lot going on.
Mm.
So I ended up going to see a homeopath because there was no other options left.
Hmm.
And hooked me up to a machine. The machine goes into different parts of your being. So the physical elements of self, mental and emotional. It even went into spiritual actually, which was quite fascinating. I was given these sachets of these just bits of, I don't know, powder. And I was thinking to myself, I've been ill for so long. How is this possibly going to help me? And why are you asking me all these questions that are very personal to my diet and what I'm eating and how I feel and what angers me? All these different things.
Mm.
And then I took the powders and I went to Greece. I went to Santorini with the
Hmm.
kids and I ended up going up Mount Hera. Why, I don't know. And I said when I was up there, because there was loads of ancient dynasties there. So you've got the Greeks, you've got the Egyptians are up there as well. You've also got some Roman stuff, I think, there as well. And I just said out loud, if there's something that I need to learn or a pathway that I need to take, reveal it to me while
Mm.
I'm stood here with the ancients. And I went back to my apartment and I picked up a book and a course for homeopathy fell out.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, here we go. I see the
Mm.
trick here. And it was all about the plants and it was all about working with the elements
Hmm.
because the elements work on the etheric body. Okay.
Hmm.
And humans and plants have that in common. It's the life force that runs through both of us.
Hmm.
So after I did the homeopathy, and I think I took a sachet a week, it was so minimalist compared to going to conventional allopathic medicine, getting lots of different prescriptions, okay, and
Hmm.
taking something every day and it fixing to a degree. But when I took these powders, not only did it fix my gut, but it also fixed the mental and emotional part of me as well. And it
Mm.
gave me a completely different perspective. And I thought, I really want to do this. And
Mm.
when I was learning the course, I also learned how to incorporate tarot and astrology in with it as well.
Wow. Okay. So what kind of medicines or foods did you use to heal your gut?
Kefir, I used kefir.
Right. Yeah. Brilliant.
No, I made homemade kefir. I had used a lot of herbs as well.
Hmm.
I looked at my blood group as well, just to see what foods would be very good for me to eat.
Hmm.
But if people are doing blood group diets, also look at the regressive blood group, which is the one that you didn't get from one of your parents, and
Right.
incorporate that into eating.
Okay.
Everybody's different. And it was mainly those things, and also things like bone broth at that point,
Mm. Mm.
and
Yeah.
healthy fats is what I
Yeah.
needed at that point, and a parasite cleanse. I had to clean out the parasites.
Fantastic. So whereabouts are you now with your diet? Are you sticking to that path or have you incorporated other foods? Do you
I
supplement at all?
I do supplement, but I make my own. I also
Right.
do herbs, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of herbs. So I do a lot of detoxing,
Mm-hmm.
especially because of the time that we're in at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Diet-wise, at the moment, I listen to my body,
Mm-hmm.
and it's as simple as that. I listen to what my body wants to eat, and it doesn't want junk. You know, it doesn't want things that will um, not elevate my energy in the
Mm-hmm.
daytime. So I do eat, very well.
Mm. Okay, yeah. With my diet, I find that if I eat like my ancestors, I generally do okay. So I try to think, what would my ancestors be eating? You know, they didn't have a fridge, there were no
Hmm.
supermarkets.
Yes,
So about 5 years ago, I started growing my own food,
me too.
which has really helped a lot. And as I say, I just kind of stick to that path really. I avoid processed foods, fast foods as much as possible. I'm not perfect, but
Either.
it really isn't that difficult. And as you say, I think as you go down that path, you do start to hear your body talking, so to speak. You know what your body needs,
Hmm.
and you start to realize what's working for you, whether it's a food or a supplement. It's a really interesting path to go on and very empowering as well. So I'm completely with you there. You mentioned some sort of device that you was used on you in your homeopathy. Was it
So
is it a biocommunication scan or something like that?
yes,
That's something that I've never come across before. So I really wanted to ask you about that. How does that work?
you have a scanner. If I'd have known, I would have bought mine here. But you have a scanner that you put your hand on, and it measures the galvanic skin responses that come from you into the
Right.
scanner. And it goes into all of the heavy metals in the body. It also goes into gut health, parasites. If you've got parasites in there, it will tell you which ones,
Right.
dependent on how bad they are. It goes into emotions that have been unprocessed, organ function, how everything is working within the body. And then it will also give you opportunities on there to see what holistic health practices will work. So it's not just homeopathy, it's also incorporation of food and nutritional, diet. It
Yeah.
will also go into things like traditional Chinese medicine. It will tell you the function of your chakras, all
Hmm.
sorts of different things, so that you've got a screenshot of where you are right now.
That's amazing. Particularly when you say that it can read your emotions.
Yeah,
I mean, how does that work? That's phenomenal.
it does. I mean, I always find that with people, when the emotions come up, they're a bit taken aback. And a
Mm,
lot of it's trapped emotions that they haven't
mm,
processed for many years, which then
mm.
gets trapped in the body.
Yeah.
So people can have joint problems, they can have gut
Mm.
issues, and it's because of that.
So my background basically is in health, but I'm very much kind of self-educated. I haven't done any courses. I've just researched loads, read books and stuff, watched videos, etc. Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. Particularly as recently, I mean, my background is in health primarily, so diet, supplements, etc. But over the last couple of years, I've actually met people and I've been reading about how trauma can cause disease and illness. So that would kind of tie in with your biocommunication scanner, wouldn't it?
It does, yeah, and trauma does, it really does.
Mm, mm,
There has to be a frequency match for certain things to go wrong within the body, and I
mm,
also feel that there has to be a frequency match for certain parasites to be able to enter into the body.
mm. Fascinating, fascinating. Definitely be checking that out. Um, when did you first realise that you had psychic abilities?
As a child,
How old were you roughly? Do you remember?
about 4 or 5, yeah.
Okay. And is this something that's kind of developed as you've got older, basically? Because the reason why I'm asking that is because when I was about that age, about 3, 4, 5 years old, I used to have experiences where I saw little people, basically.
Mhm.
Um, and for many years after that, I thought I must have been dreaming, but I've given it a lot of thought, and I'm very very sure that it was a real experience. I used to see a little man about 3 foot tall. He used to wear a leather apron, a leather cap. He was very kind of had tanned skin, and he just used to stand in the middle of my bedroom and stare at me. And there were also these women with kind of cone hats with veils, and they were very not always very nice. They used to, yeah. So does that ring any bells for you at all? Have you ever heard of that sort of experience?
They sound like the hidden people, and some of
Okay.
them are really lovely and some of them are not, but it's balance.
Yeah.
It's always balance.
Yeah.
So when people put a focus on, for instance, fairies as being
Mm,
really good, there are bad ones as well, you
mm,
know?
yeah.
And have I had experiences like that? Yes, I do. I find that those people live on certain frequencies,
Hmm.
and you must have been attuned to that frequency to have been able to have seen them in the first
Mm,
place.
mm. Yeah, quite possibly. It's just frustrating from my point of view that that happened a long, long time ago, and it's never really resurfaced in my life. I don't know if there'll be any way at all of kind of trying to get back to that kind of frequency or whatever, or
You
do you
can
think
get
that's
back to that.
possible?
Oh, yes, you can. You
How
really, really, really can.
how would I go about doing that?
Homeopathy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So give me some insight onto that, please.
Homeopathy for me is like magic. And
Right.
there's people that have trained to do it and others that are self-taught. And I
Hmm.
think that with this journey that we're on, both are just as good as the other, as long as you work from the heart. Okay.
Hmm.
So with regards to homeopathy, what does this do? How does it work? Homeopathy is like heals like, okay? So for instance, if a bee came in and stung you now, I would give you a remedy made from a bee sting called apis, and it would negate the effects of what the bee had just done to you.
Hmm.
Okay, so the stronger force of the homeopathy, it then works on the weaker force that sits within the body, and one cancels the other out, like the Kabbalion, like yours, like, you know, that kind of energy. So
Mm-hmm.
with regards to homeopathy, what I would do if I was treating you now, I would ask you lots and lots of different questions about your health, about your life, about traumatic experiences, about what was going on around you as a child. When did these visions start cutting off? What was happening there? Did you move? What was your parents like? What was your energy like there? Um, I'd ask you about your diet, about all of these different things. Okay. I'd
Mm-hmm.
also ask you about what your experiences were like there. And I would start stripping the layers off of life experiences that have happened to you since that point to get you back to where you were. And that's still within you, but you may just have acquired layers over the years, and that's all that it is. It's as simple as that.
Mm. That's really, really interesting. And funnily enough, you said that did you move at all? And my experiences stopped just as my family moved. I was about 7 years old, and it never happened after that. So I did wonder maybe if it was connected in some way, my experiences to the house that I lived in, which
Yeah.
was a very old house,
Hmm.
probably about 200 years old. But yeah, it's never happened to me since. So that's good to hear that I could maybe work towards
Yeah.
getting back to that point. That would be amazing.
And it's not just homeopathy, it's diet. Okay.
Mm,
It's how you live, it's being present in the moment.
mm,
It's really just working on all parts of your energy system. It could
mhm,
be meridian rebalancing.
mhm,
There's all sorts of different ways that we can work. And I find the best ways of reconnecting back to self is the ancient ways, just like you said about the ancient foods.
mhm. Definitely, definitely, yeah. Okay. Um, so one of the reasons that I asked you on today, one of the many reasons, was shadow work. And
Hmm.
going back to your interview with Thomas Sheridan, what I found very, very appealing was the idea that you could use the tarot to help you with your shadow work. So before I'll give you the floor. Um, am I understanding this right? So shadow work is working with your unconscious mind
Hmm.
to uncover the parts of yourself that you repress and hide from. It's such a buzz term at the moment, shadow work. So, but I can see that it would definitely be beneficial to people. I think pretty much everyone is traumatized in one form or another in this world, and if that could be alleviated, it would be a much better place to be in, wouldn't it? So,
Yeah.
um, can you just basically describe how you would interpret shadow work and how one would go about it and how one would incorporate the tarot into doing some shadow work as well?
Yeah. There's two ways we can do this. I'll do the first way. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We are a species in amnesia and we've forgotten who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And ancient times, if we go back to how people worked before,
Mm-hmm.
they always used the herbs to heal different maladies, okay, or
Mm-hmm.
they used what they needed at that point. The herbs work on the etheric body, which is the life force that lives within us and the plants, okay? There's something there. So it's one of the bodies from the outside of, our physical body.
Mm.
So I was doing some shadow work last year. I started doing some really deep shadow work, and I was pulling some tarot, and I kept on getting the Eight of Cups. I didn't feel like I was in a bad place. I didn't understand why. But I would do and act in certain ways, like maybe get frustrated at certain things or maybe not have the correct patience.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a remedy to figure out what these broken pieces were. And it's called carcinosin in homeopathy. And it brings back all the broken pieces. And
Mm.
that remedy showed me where I was the problem. And it was quite difficult because it's very difficult looking at parts of self you just can't see. So I
Mm.
was like, okay, cool, I can work with that. So I spent a few months off of work dealing with my stuff because I will not treat people if I'm not in a position to be able to receive them. And then this year, beginning of the year, I went back and did some more shadow work because even though I'd cleared this and it was absolutely phenomenal after I'd done that, there were still bits, when you really want to move forwards, but you just can't. It's like you only get so far, but I couldn't understand why.
Mm.
And every time I had a look, I kept on picking up the Three of Swords, which is heartbreak, devastation, people going their separate ways. So I took an ancestral remedy, or it's called miasm, which is ancestral pollution in homeopathy. And that one's all about being better, doing better, the itch. They normally have a scratch or could have eczema, psoriasis. I took that remedy in quite a high potency, and it showed me why I was the problem. And it took me straight back to my childhood. And I had a look at everything there. That again took me a few months to get over that point as well.
Mm.
It took me back to my feelings of what I was feeling at that point. And for people like you and I that have the awareness to want to actually do better, what this then does is it gives you a perspective shift and it shows you how you can heal yourself. So
Mm.
homeopathy gives you the power back to take back control of your life.
Mm.
So I thought, okay, we'll work with, so that was the Rider-Waite. We've had a look at that. Those were the Rider-Waite cards. So then I thought, let's have a little look at, the Eight of Discs, the Prudence cards in Aleister Crowley, and he works a bit in a different way. So this card for me is all about power and strength, okay? And it's all about desire for peace,
Mm.
and it's quite a big one that sits there with it. So then if we take that back a bit more, if you really look at that card, you can see quite a lot on there. There's even flowers there if I go this way.
Mm-hmm.
The light side of this card is all about self-discipline. Okay, it's about reviewing the details, but doing it within reason. You don't go overboard with it.
Mm.
Shadow of this is too much attention to detail, and this
Mm.
is where we get finicky and nitpicky,
Yeah.
without seeing the bigger plan. If we look at this card with Aleister Crowley is the star sign Virgo. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
Virgos have an affinity to attention to detail. They overthink and overanalyze. They're also ruled by the planet Mercury, which has the two sides, the Loki. This works. So this card for me is about structure. So if we look at the body parts that Virgo links back to, we've got bones, teeth, and knees, which is all about structure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to work with that, we've got 12 tissue salts in homeopathy, and the tissue salts link back to the planets. How were the tissue salts created? Somebody donated their body to homeopathy and said, burn, my body and find out what's left over.
Mm.
And there were 12 biochemic tissue salts left over. And so they aligned them to the different planets. So
Mm.
maybe one that's overanalyzing and in the shadow side of their light as a Virgo, or if there's any Virgo placements in their chart,
Yeah.
can then take Kali Sulf. But then if we wanted to incorporate crystals, maybe they could use Amazonite, for when they don't know when to stop. But then if we wanted to take it even further, we could have a plant that's a rubber tree that would
Mm.
bring balance to the energy within the home. And then if you wanted to take it back to herbs, you could use fennel tea to calm the nerves to bring you back into balance. And this is how tarot can help you to understand where you are.
That's amazing. Wow. Just a couple of terms that you've used. Ancestral pollution. What exactly is that? How would you describe that or define it?
Eczema. So somebody in the family could have had eczema, okay?
Right.
And then a child's born with eczema, and then we go back a generation and the parents had the eczema, and we go back a generation and then the grandparents had the eczema, and it started somewhere. So what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing when you're treating a child or you're treating an adult is you're putting a stronger force within the body with the homeopathy that will drive
Mm.
out the weaker force. And
Oh,
as you treat that person and their body starts to come back into alignment, if they then go on to have children, the force is weaker in the children. And they reckon that after 3 generations work with homeopathy, we then go back to being the stellar beings that we once were.
wow. That's amazing. That's incredible. It's such a shame that homeopathy gets such a bad rap these days. You know, it's described as pseudo-scientific, isn't it? But
Why?
sorry?
But why?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's not something that I've ever really explored, but I'm going to now, definitely. That was absolutely fascinating. And something else you mentioned, tissue salts. Would they be the same as cell salts?
Yeah, exactly the same.
Ah, I thought
Yeah,
so. Right, that I have heard of that because I've seen a couple of lectures by a guy called Santos Bonacci. Do you know? Have you heard of him at all?
Santos, yeah. And he talks about the salts of salvation.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
got one here. Yeah, so we've got this here, which is the zodiac and the salts of salvation, and it will give you all of the different tissue salts here and also what different body parts they work on.
That's incredible. I think I've heard somebody say once that if you perfect the art of getting your salts right, your cell salts right in your body, that you can actually become a light body or something like that. Something pretty spectacular. I don't know if that's true, but
Can, because you can use your sun sign, your moon sign, and your ascendant. And what it does is when you feel your energy dipping,
mm,
you then end up coming more back into alignment. So it's not something you need to do all the time, but
mm,
it's something that, you know, when you can really feel yourself not being 100% within, to take
mm,
the cell salts to help you to really, you know, realign back to where you're supposed to be.
mm. Fantastic. Can you talk any more about tarot? How to use tarot with shadow work?
You can look at archetypes, okay, as in Carl Jung,
Hmm. Yeah.
and look at how the tarot cards can work with that. You can use the major arcana to see where you are, okay, where
Mm.
you've been, where you are, and where you're going. You know,
Yeah.
just to figure out what your blockages are. Are
Mm-hmm.
they in reverse or are they upright? You know,
Mm,
are you in your positive light or are you in your shadow?
mm-hmm.
This
Okay, yeah, brilliant. So, I've had my cards read 3 or 4 times in my life. It's something that's always really interested me, and it's something that I've never ever got round to, unfortunately. But I'm absolutely determined to start as soon as possible now. So, I'm a complete beginner with tarot. What's the best advice you could give me on how to get started with that?
if you've got lots of friends around you or people that are on the journey with you that you really value and that really value you,
Hmm.
when they phone you, say to them, please don't say anything and ask obviously their permission to read the cards and just pull 3 cards and see how you feel, you know, with regards to that. And
Yeah.
then just see what feelings are invoked within you. You know, how do you connect with them? And then just say what you see. And that's the intuitive side of it. The
Right.
mystic side, which would be more going towards the golden dawn, is learning the planetary elements, is learning the plants. You can incorporate Rudolf Steiner in with that as well, with the way that he works with things.
Hmm.
But I would, first of all, you've obviously got a lot of intuition. I can feel that anyway. And I would work with just asking people, you know, I'm pulling 3 cards for you. Is it okay? And then just say what you see and take it from there.
Wow, that's brilliant. So from now on, I'll be walking around with a mobile in one pocket and a tarot deck in the other. Definitely, that sounds cool.
And your motto will be every day I'm shuffling. Okay.
Every day I'm shuffling. Brilliant. Okay. Is the type of deck that you use important, or does it not matter at all? I mean, I'll show you what I've got. I've just got this.
Right away. Yeah.
Yeah, is that okay, or does it? Is that yeah?
Go with your heart. There's no right or wrong way with tarot. And it's a journey, just like
Mm-hmm.
homeopathy is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning things about tarot and I've been reading for what, nearly 20 years now.
Mm. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Do you know much about the history of tarot and how far it goes back and stuff like that?
1700s. They reckon it goes back further though, back to the Egyptians.
I was going to say I've heard it goes back to the ancient Egyptians, yeah, but I didn't know if that was true or not.
And you could also link it back to the Atlanteans if you went back further.
Wow.
And astrology is really old as well, if you put that together with it, because it's all one language.
Mm.
You know, it all works together in unison. But main parts of tarot is in Italy, okay? And I did actually go over there, but I can't remember the name of the place that I went to. I think it might be Geneva. And literally with the tarot, they started off with the major arcana. You could also link it back to playing cards, okay, and work with it that way and have a look at how they did it. And it was only the rich people that did that before, that, you know, used to do the tarot. And it became really, really, really big. They used the major arcana and then they incorporated the 56 cards, which would be the playing deck, which with the clubs, the diamonds, the spades, and I can't remember what the hearts.
Hearts, yeah.
Yeah. And so the history of tarot really is quite an obscure one. I think that there's a lot more that goes with it, but my intuition tells me that it's a lot older than what we think it is. It's not. It's been used by the Persians, it's been used by the Italians, it's been used by the French people. You can also have a look at this a bit in conjunction with things like runes, I Ching. It's all got the same kind of language, but all that it does really for me is it teaches you how to reconnect back to self. And we can both read cards, but we'll do it in a completely different way because we're both unique individuals with a different story to tell.
Wow, okay. Would it be possible to like pull a card or 3 cards now just to see what happens?
Yeah, of course I can.
Brilliant.
Just have a little look here with this. So if you can, please just connect with yourself and tell me when to stop.
Well,
Okay, what have we got here? Interesting. So what I have around you at the moment is like a blessed union and feeling, you know, cups filled with inside. There's the financial element of it with you. There's the family unit that sits in there. It could even be feeling blissful at home. You know, so that's it. So we've got the number 10, which is a number of completion as well. But it could also link back to number 1 in numerology, which would mean new beginnings. Then you've got your world card here, and that's you working with all the 4 elements. If we go back, earth, wind, water, and fire, that would go back to the Golden Dawn again, because of the person that created these cards. But it's literally you in your world, knowing where you are and knowing what you're doing. This sash around her at the moment also looks like a snake, and it's a serpent, and it's about wisdom. It's about being whole in your own dominion, in your own domain, okay? And 0 really is the completion. It's all of it that comes out there. And maybe at the moment, this one's in reverse, but this is just you figuring out financially what you want to do, where you want to go, what feels good for you within your world, what you will allow, what your limits and your boundaries are. And once you've got to a position within your life that feels really good, you'll reach back and help the others.
Wow, that's fascinating. And yeah, that's very, very interesting because I've been awake now, for want of a better word, for about 15, 16 years, something like that. And your priorities change, don't they?
Yeah.
When I think so, when you wake up, I mean, we all need to still live in the real world and we all need to earn money, of course, but they become less important somehow. And you focus, or I've been focusing more on what I think is really important in life, things like relationships with people, health, trying to gain as much knowledge as possible while I'm here and things like that. So that all made sense to me, definitely. So thanks. Cheers.
Okay.
So how can my viewers reach you? I know that on your website you offer a lot of courses on various subjects. So I'm going to be checking that out, definitely. So where's the best place to reach you?
You can reach me on that one, which is www.elonawoods.com. I also have a homeopathic website which sells herbs and different, you know,
Okay.
products on there. You can words. I've just literally just made this website. Homeopathy. There we go. Yeah. So it's just
Before you go, I'd just like to ask you about your experience of working with the Welsh rugby team.
Yeah.
And something you did on ITV, which was really, really interesting. A bit of a ghost story, wasn't it?
That one was very interesting. It was, yeah. I went there. They were actually absolutely shaken up.
Really?
Yeah, they were,
Wow.
because they were being disturbed at night time. And the
Yeah.
thing is, those things they can only disturb you if you've got the potential to see them. And that says a lot about the team. Okay.
Mm,
But it will also feed off of fear. These things feed off of fear. So if they were scared that whatever was there had a feast, okay, that night.
mhm,
But it was an interesting place. The whole building held a lot of soul energy, but it
mm.
was more like consecrated ground. You could feel that there'd been a lot that had happened there
Okay.
that was not so great.
Yeah. Sure.
And they went there and they met a lot of different energies and entities that were there being woken up and having experiences that were not favorable.
And did you at all, while you was there, did you experience anything or see anything that was out of the ordinary?
You can feel them. You can go
Mm,
anywhere now. Once you reach a certain level within self, you can feel energies everywhere. But what
mhm,
you need to learn to do is to ground and center yourself and discern what you want to give your attention to or not.
mm,
And
mm.
that's all that it is.
Okay, that's fascinating. Brilliant. Okay, thanks very much. I've really enjoyed this. I've been looking forward to it for ages. I hope my questions were okay. As I said, I'm not far from being an expert on anything that we've discussed today. It's just that I really want to get started on some shadow work, and I'm hoping to incorporate the tarot into that. So, thanks for your wisdom and your information. It's been very enlightening for me. I hope that once I've gone a bit further down this road, that I might have you back and let you know how it's going and ask you some more questions. That would be wonderful.
That's okay. And for anybody that's watching, and even for yourself, trust yourself. That's the hardest bit, I think, to learn about tarot. It's the hardest bit with medicines. Journal, write
Mm,
things down. And what I like to do with tarot as well as journaling, I'll have a journal and I'll ask my spirit specific questions. So I've got a journal and I call it my book of magic.
mhm,
Dear spirit, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm going through. What do I need to learn? And start
mm,
understanding how you can really connect with your highest self
mhm.
and grounds that into the body. But also with tarot, when you're learning tarot, it takes you high, but make sure you're grounded as well. Because most people are trying to experience ascending when they haven't mastered grounding.
Right, thank you so much, Elona. That was absolutely fascinating. I'll be watching this back and studying it. Thank you for your information and for your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on and good luck with your tarot journey.
Cheers. Thank you.
You take care.